Welcome to JDM Imported.
Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of JDM Imported. We're at episode 20. I say that like it's something to be proud of. I've been doing this for over a year. This is a lethargic pace for episodes, but I'm going to keep it going. And I'm not going to promise to ramp it up. You know, my goal is 2 a month, but we'll see. You know, I want to give you updates that are relevant. So, again, JDM Imported Podcast, Dante Prinzo, owner-operator, Elusive Auto Company and Elusive Auto Shine. And let's continue to follow the journey, friends. So here's what's up right now. I'm doing this podcast from a different location. I am at my shop. And I was doing this out of necessity, right? Just because I was busy today and I wanted to record something, wanted to lay something down, get you up to date with all that is new with the company and in my life. Like I said, this was just out of necessity. But I don't know. I mean, again, we're not going for like studio quality here with the sound. I'll try to make it sound as nice as I can post, but you know, like I've always said, I mean, let's not let conditions hold us back from progression. You know, it might not be the best conditions, but I'd rather be doing something that I want to be doing today, being efficient, than making excuses and being like, you know, like the heaters kick on, there's an echo, someone might walk in, it's weird. I can hear people in the hall, and yeah, it's probably weird with them overhearing me, but, you know, screw it. That's what I'm doing. I'm not worried about anyone else. I'm focused on me right now. Call me selfish, but I'd rather be selfish than stagnant. So, and truth be told, I kind of like this. So let me set the scene for you a little bit. So my garage space, right? We talked about it on the last episode. It's partitioned. You know, I have some shelving and toolbox, cabinets, kind of dividing the front section, which is nice, tidy, clean. That's where all the detailing happens. Elusive Auto Shine entrance, all of that. Nice little waiting room. The back side is where the dirty stuff happens. That's where we get a little grimy. So that's where I have the FC parked in its prime or glory. And that's where I have, you know, my tools, my quick jack. Right now I have a little bit of a makeshift paint booth, which actually came out really well. I'm using my squat rack. I have it attached to the 7-foot-high shelving unit that I made out of wood. I stained it black. Looks sweet against the white wall here. And I'm actually painting somebody's, you know, if you've been following Instagram, I am painting someone's fender. I don't know why. I like to do it, and I have trouble saying no. So I have a fender for a Honda CR-V in my possession, and I'm doing a color change and a dent repair. So that's what's up. But anyways, I mean, whatever. It came out good. It's metallic. It's the first time I shot, you know, metallic, is it? Or at least in a while. You know, my setup's decent. I think it came out fine. And why not? It's the thing, I said this early on. If I have the space, I'm going to fill it up being productive and not getting in my own way of what I think it should be used for, or how I feel I should be using my time, or the image, whatever. I'm going to fill the space up to maximize it. So if I have a corner there and somebody's like, hey, you know, can you do this? And I'm up front. As always, set expectations. Listen, this is going to be a pro job, but you want something cheap and quick, great. You know, we can do it. And, you know, I think I deliver on that. So that's the setting here. So in this episode, I'm going to talk a little more about the shop. You know, last time we talked about me getting the shop, some of the things I was going through, and I kind of want to close that out because I don't want to bore you with shop talk. But listen, with me, the audio experience is kind of stimulating the imagination and kind of the internal visualization of what you're listening to. So in order to do so, I want to lay the land for you, so you can kind of picture where I'm at, what I'm doing. If you're going through similar things or thinking of starting businesses or whatever it may be, lifestyle changes, sometimes visualizing these things through the audible experience can help, at least it does with me personally. So as always with this podcast, I kind of do what makes sense to me. Hopefully other people connect. Again, looking for fans, not numbers. So anyways, I want to talk about, some hurdles I've gone through, some scary moments with this joint. I then want to get into, buying a JDM car, because as you know, I kind of like to split this podcast into, a little bit of business. I don't want to call it guidance, but just business sharing of what's going on with my company, and of course JDM stuff, because this all started from that, and I can't ignore that, and I have love for it, and man, I can't wait to buy like some more cars. It's really driving me nuts, kind of stalling out that portion of actually having cars. The consulting side, helping people find cars, it's fun, but there's something very satisfying about physically seeing, touching, and being around these. So what I want to do is kind of go through kind of like a live search, right? Thursday's the biggest auction day, typically in Japan. And I kind of want to walk you through, even though you can't see what I'm doing, walk you through how I'm searching for cars when I'm ready to get them, things I look for, and kind of what the market is real time right now as far as availability. I think that'd be kind of an interesting snapshot. So let's kick it off with personal life. I'm just kidding. I don't want to talk about my personal life. My business is my personal life. So as we know, the family's moved. We're in the new house. We're in Pittsburgh. I have the shop space. Everything's set up. The shop, aside from like some tweaking, I've had a lot of time, unfortunately downtime, to really perfect things. So I'd say the shop, as far as the maturation of like the aesthetics, it looks like I've been here for 2 years. As far as the organization, the layout, the flow, because it takes a while. I mean, as I'm sure as you guys can relate with garages that you've set up around working on cars, around wrenching. Like, it takes some time, even to set up like a toolbox to make it efficient, to make it to the point where you know where everything is. You're not checking drawers and closing them, checking and closing, checking and closing. And you have stuff on walls so it's easy accessible. You don't have to pull anything out of boxes. And you know how good that feels once you start fine tuning, and you feel like, oh man, I'm just like my shop space is my tool, not just a place that houses my tools and like overflow from like personal stuff and sporting goods and all that shit. And I've really become obsessed with that. I mean, before this, but even more so exaggerated with having a shop space, with really taking some time out, looking, evaluating. I mean, I will stand and stare at a wall for like 30 minutes, but I'm kind of playing things through in my mind of how I think I want this to go, where I want my hose reel to go, how that's going to work with a car in here, how it's going to work with cord management, so I don't have extension cords, hose cords, and all this stuff that I'm tripping over. I want everything retracted on the walls, off the ground. How it's going to look when somebody comes in. Does it look clean? Does it look like a professional place or just a garage, And then I've been adopting that in my personal life. I mean, habits form habits, guys. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I kind of got in this groove at work, and I'm going home, like, organizing the pantry, the kitchen cabinets, pots, pans. Like, it's not sexy to talk about, but it's kind of a positive lifestyle change, even so much as, like, my closet, how my clothes are laid out, organizing there. And I feel like, man, my nickname growing up was Sloppy D, because my first name's Dante D, and I was just kind of like, I was the one that was just like, I would always send it, right? And sometimes it was, sloppy, whether it was like on my bike, whether it was just kind of doing stunt type of thing, whatever, just being an idiot. And no one would ever think like I gave two shits about organization, right? But I can tell you, honestly, I feel like with how many things I'm juggling right now and how much stuff I have going on, I feel so much more relaxed walking into my shop space, having things labeled. Even though I put them there, the simple task of labeling, so you just kind of glance, and it just the split second that it saves from like looking around or behind stuff or just processing what's in what bottle or what tools are in what drawer. Oh man, if I could tell you one thing in your automotive enthusiast life to change, go get a label machine. Label some parts bins where you have hoses, vacuum lines, spare parts. Label your tools, even though you put them in the drawer. Listen, if you're listening right now, you cannot sit there if you've wrenched on a car regularly and said you don't regularly open drawers, the wrong drawers. Looking for a socket, opening your wrench drawer, or you're looking for your 3M, double-sided tape, and you open 3 drawers and then you find it, even though it's been in the same place for years. You do it. I did it. Don't front. But I'm telling you, so take that for what it is. I wanted to share that just because it's what I'm going through now. It's made me really happy. But so getting to why I've had the downtime to go nuts organizing, to mounting everything on the walls, to making my space look like a professional space as opposed to, which it very easily could just look like an absolute mess. And the reason I've had this time was, as often with life, with business, starting an own business and being completely on your own, there's going to be things you don't forecast because you haven't been through it. There's going to be things that surprise you. There's going to be times when you think you've researched, read everything, but unless you're doing it, you don't know, like anything, which I found out. Listen, learn from my mistakes. I don't even call them mistakes. These are learning experiences. But so this shop space, right? I found this shop in Pittsburgh, Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, to be specific. Awesome location, in the hub of everything, kind of a speakeasy thing in a parking lot behind restaurants. I love it. I love it here. People just walk in. People are drunk. They come in at night because I'm always working here late. That's weird, but whatever. And I thought that I did all the research, right, on starting a business in this township. I lease it from a leasing company. Tell them very upfront, this is what I'm going to use the space for. Cool. You're all good to go. All right. So I guess I just start. And it felt like, and this is why, listen to the little voice, right? Listen to the voice. Because I had this thing, and I'm like, this seemed like too easy. Like I just sign a lease and I just start working. And I asked them, I was like, don't have to like do anything else. And I did some research and I was aware of like permits, but usually they were for, or at least the verbiage around the permits were usually catered towards, especially around here, like restaurants, like doctor's offices, place where you have like customers regularly, charging sales tax and things like that. So, when people are here, it's more of a service. Even if they buy a car from me, it's just different. So, I read all that stuff, and then I have like the building management company say like, yeah, go for it. Thanks. Signed up. We're good to go. But there's just something that it just like didn't feel like it happened yet. There wasn't like this, yeah, I made it. I did it. Like there wasn't any of that. So I'm like operating for, a month or so, and I'm getting jobs in here, and, I'm still trying to iron out things with Google to get my listing back up and established since I moved. So I wasn't getting a ton of business, but I was staying busy just from like old school word of mouth. And I kind of liked that because it was uncomfortable. I kind of went around, networked a little bit. Like, I think that's a good exercise. I could equate that to like training wheels, right? like anyone that's not comfortable on a bike would feel more comfortable with training wheels, but there's a whole world, if you're just okay with temporarily being uncomfortable, of exploring to do once you bust those things off. You know, you can turn faster, you can ride faster, you can go over logs, like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, so this is like just I was used to kind of the comfort of stuff that I knew, which is, you know, you run Google ads, stuff like that, you get customers, whatever, easy. And it was working, and out of nowhere, so this is where the bomb dropped. Out of nowhere, I get an email from the management company. They're like, hey, where's your insurance certificate? I was like, oh, boom. I did that research. I know what kind of coverage I need, so I scan it over, send it to them. I'm like, you know, I'm prepared, and I'm feeling good. You know, my ego's swelling because I can't emphasize enough. You know, this is my first time moving into a building, starting a business in this state here, and I have zero partners. I have no one that's been through it before. No one works with me. Like, it is just me. So yeah, ego's swelling, you know, when I get to like, but you know, when I know the answer before someone asks the question, you know, I love that. So I get another email after that, and it was just like, hey, what about your occupancy permit? And before I even could respond to the email, I get I was reading it, and then I get a call, and she's like, hey, we need to talk. I'm like, what? Hey, we need to talk? I'm like, am I going to get broken up with right now? Like, and I don't know why my mind went to the worst case scenario where like, hey, we need to terminate your lease. I don't know why it just went there. And like, my heart sunk when she was like, hey, we need to talk. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, I just sunk all this money in. I got it all set up. I had a building inspector come out here. They said it was all good, which, quick sidebar, I hate that. Not that you have to get it inspected. I totally get that from liability safety standpoint. I just do not like the order in which things happen. You sign the lease first. You then have to get the building up to however operationally it needs to be. Then you have the inspector come in, and then they could potentially be like, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to approve this business to be run out of here. And then what? You have to back out of a lease. You just spend all your money on like custom shit and cabinets and like repainting, like, you know. I digress. So occupancy permit, and I'm like, shit. So I immediately, I was like, yeah, I'm going to plead ignorance here. I don't have an occupancy permit. I thought those were just for like restaurants and doctor's offices. Like, it's just me here, and I have customers like dropping cars off, maybe waiting an hour or two, but you know, no one's like hanging out here. I'm not charging sales tax on, I mean, I do sell some products, so I guess technically I do collect tax, but I mean, we're talking like a bottle of product a month might go out the door. I mean, almost nothing. She's like, oh, yeah. Mount Lebanon, you got to have that. You got to have that. You can't operate your business without it. We could get in huge trouble if somebody reported you for like operating your business. We own the building. You know, we're liable for anything that happens. Even though I have insurance coverage on my place way beyond what's required, but just to be safe, you know, because I never know what kind of cars are going to be here. I have like $1 million insurance and coverage on this garage space and whatever's in it. So yeah, my heart was on the floor. I'm like, do I have potential to just like, I have the place, I have the lease, but I'm like, when I hear permit is a very finite. It's very finite. It's like a yes or no. Like, you either have it or you don't. Someone could either approve you or they could not approve you. And then what? And then this move, and then the high of me getting this place, and then all of the like late nights, all the money I've sunk into this, like getting this place to look proper, could totally be for nothing. So I let that get me down for like 2 minutes, because that's all the time I could stand not taking action. So I immediately went to the municipal building, got the paperwork needed, talked to somebody about physically, again, because I could have spent 2 hours trying to find the answer online. I walked in, I had the paperwork, and I talked to an inspector about what's needed, and even was completely transparent about my situation, and was just totally honest, like, listen, my apologies for not coming first. I'm a first timer. I said it over and over. Like, I plead ignorance. I really try to research, and I got this in place, and I even had the fire inspector come out, and no one prompted me to do that. Like, I'm trying to do things right, but I goofed. So help me out. Like, what do I need to do? And they're like, listen, it's okay. You can't, like, stop doing cars until we get this sorted, but we should be fine, as long as nothing crazy is going on there, and as long as it's what you told the management company. So let's fast forward a bit. So everything's submitted. They get back. They're like, ooh, you had a sink installed. No one filed a permit for that. Again. So that's on and I'm not going to take blame for that. I will always take blame where it's due. The plumber is supposed to do that. And this is somebody that works for the building management company and has so for years, that's done all the plumbing here. So they know the requirements locally. So they never filed a permit for putting in, get this, I don't know where you are in the world, but it's a laundry sink or a wash tub or utility sink, whatever you want to call it, but it's like a sink in your garage. I had a big one installed so I can wash, my pads, wash stuff, parts, whatever. I spent money, $1,200 out of pocket, had to go through the plumber, through the building. They put it in, but they never filed that. So this is a strike against me. They're like, listen, if this wasn't filed, we need to have somebody from the township come out, make sure that it's up to code. Then you have to resubmit it, and then we can go along the rest of the stuff, make sure that your fire stuff's in order and all that. So this is what I've been dealing with. So it took over 4 weeks for all of this. So this last month, to be honest, I did do some jobs, and I was even on, like I told the building management company, I'm like, listen guys, you got to get this stuff in, because they had to talk to the plumber and get all this stuff submitted. Like, it had to be in their name or else I would do it. And I was like, I'll even walk it down there personally, just anything to expedite this. And they were like, listen, if you like have friends, family, whatever, like, no one can fault you there. Like, as long as like, as long as you're not like out in the parking lot, like changing money, she's like, you'll be fine. But you can't be advertising, you can't like have your open sign on, all that stuff. So luckily I had enough things to keep me kind of busy, but we're talking like 1 or 2 jobs a week. That barely covers expenses. I already spent a bunch of money on this place. So, I was stressed, and I was really trying to push to like get this done. And it wasn't until I asked one of the other business owners, older guy, he owns a bunch of buildings and like half of the town. He's like, Dante, like, where are all the cars, man? You're just starting a business, and I'm not seeing any cars there. I'm like, I told him my issue. Well, of course, old timer in the area, he knows everyone. He's like, let me talk to so-and-so. Coincident, and this was like last week, right? And I was trying to do everything, but they just couldn't. There was always kind of we can't get the plumber out there. The county has to come out, and they're, 3 weeks backlogged, all of this stuff for a sink. A sink is what did it. So no matter how much you forecast, no matter how much foresight you have, there's always the details. So this guy, this local business owner is like, let me put a word in. I'm like, grain of salt, right? I'm like, all right, well, yeah, whatever. The next morning, township's out, plumber's out, building management, all at my shop before I got here, inspecting, paperwork, all kind of stuff. They got it submitted. That day, I finally got approval for my permit. And I can't express to you, like, I think because it took 4 weeks, the stress slowly tapered off. Like, what? When you're like in murder mode and something like rocks your world, it's like all you can think about. Like, you get the shakes unless you're doing something to fix it or to move past it, or whatever it may be. But I think because of 4 weeks, I got numb to it. And it wasn't like as exciting as I thought. Just like starting this business, it wasn't like, I've arrived. But as I let it soak in, it was, I didn't realize how short of breath I was thinking about it. So I just wanted to take you through that. The business we're good on both fronts. Elusive Auto Company, Elusive Auto Shine. I have my permits, insurance, fire inspection, lease, but this is how I should have felt, and I should have went there in person and asked somebody instead of just, I looked online. I came to my own conclusion, kind of like what we do with self-diagnosis. When you have a sickness, you get on WebMD. Man, sometimes eliminate the peripherals, just go straight to the door, and that's just asking somebody, them seeing a face. People are much more willing to help you. You will get the answer much faster if you have the opportunity to do something like I did, where you just go to where you need to in person, kind of present your case. I should have done that when I first moved in, and I'm sure someone there would have been like, hey, welcome to the town. This is the process small businesses usually take. This is what you need to do next. And I should have just been like, listen, I'm new. I don't know anything. What do I need to do? But instead, I'm like, I'm doing it on my own. I'm king of the world. I'll figure all this shit out, on the fly. I'll just Google it. And, and that's what happened to me. So, lesson learned. I lost a month of work. But I'm not going to look at that as a negative, because that gave me, like I said, a month to just fine-tune this place. I mean, this place, I am happy with it. It's all exposed brick, painted white, the floor's gray, Swiss tracks in the front, and the Swiss tracks is like a Burberry type of plaid, but it's my shop color, so it's like grays, whites, reds, black, and a little sitting area with a nice rug, some wheels with a TV on it, a little display case with some products and little trinkets behind. And then I have a big cabinet section, right down the middle of it, and then a curtain. And it's just a big, tall gray curtain, kind of muffles the sound, because I'm real big in, when the compressor kicks on, when I'm talking to people, I don't like it to sound like a garage. So between the Swiss tracks, little rug, I did put up some sound deadening, some studio foam back by the compressor, which made a huge difference. It's fairly quiet in here, and I'm sure, as you can tell, I'm in a garage with rock hard walls and a steel ceiling, and it's not too echoey, it's not too bad. I don't think this is going to end up sounding much different than when I record in my basement. And that's the setup. And like I said, so I have the partition with the curtains. I have a stairwell entrance that kind of comes into where I have the FC parked, so that's kind of separate from where people bring their cars in for details. It's kind of a separate vibe there. And I mean, I have it all organized. Did a wood shelving setup that's 7 feet tall, so I can work underneath it, in a workbench. I bought all new bins, which, this isn't like me. I'm usually I don't want to spend money on that. I'll just whatever Rubbermaid something or other, and I'll, write on it with Sharpie. But I'll tell you what, when people come in, and even for my own sake, when I come in and I see black and red bins, all matching, all labeled, it just feels, it does. It's like a weight off. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm just boom, Ridgeline parts. So my work truck, I have it all there. FC parts, I know that's all the spare. Tubes, vacuum lines, got all that. Fuel pressure kit. It's I can just glance and I know where everything is. I don't have to even reference my memory, being oh yeah, the third one from the left's usually my fuel pressure kit. No, it's just labeled. And you just grab it. And when you're busy and you're in the middle of working on a car, nothing's worse. Again, another thing I'm sure we're all guilty of, I know I am, I'm under a car, I don't have the right tool, or I'm in the hood, and the toolbox is over there, and sometimes I use not the appropriate tool. I might have the perfect pair of hose clamps or hose pliers, the specialty ones, so you don't have to use needle nose that flips it off, or your fingers get all busted up. The special ones that lock in, they take the tension off the little spring clip, but I just don't feel like going over there, or I don't feel like shuffling through because I can't just glance and see it. But it's having everything out that you use specifically the majority of the time. You can just grab it off a wall or pegboard or whatever. Oh man, Like it changes my world. Totally changed it. So, but yeah. So that's, hopefully that paints a picture. If you're going through the same thing, I mean, I'm sure you're not going through the identical thing, but, if you're trying to start a business, or you have, and you've gone through some issues, and, yeah, feel free, as always, reach out to me. Bounce some ideas off me. I mean, I'm no expert, but there is a lot to be gained in the exercise of just sharing, right? Sometimes I come to my own conclusions just saying it out loud, and I'm like, you dumbass, so yeah, use me as a resource just for that, even if I'm just a trampoline to bounce ideas off of. I love it, for those of you that reach out to me, never feel like you're being a burden, and if you are, I'll tell you. So if you don't hear me say, like, listen, I don't really have time for this, keep the questions coming, because I haven't said that yet. But yeah, so that's what's going on with the shop. So it's a good feeling now. Like it is. I feel vindicated. I don't feel weird for like putting business cards out in other like restaurants and things like that. I can run ads now. I finally got my approval on Google because I had to show them I had separate entrances, separate workspace, hence the partition that I put up and all that, which I'm glad I did in hindsight. But and that was another big thing because I haven't been on Google in like 3 months. It's been suspended since I moved, because you change locations. Their new policy, you can't be out of a house, but then the business has to be verified, but then you can't have 2 businesses out of 1 location unless they're separate entrances, which I had to do. So it's a whole thing. But I got that covered too. After, what did I get? 3 no's. On the 4th try, I got it. So again, take that with you if you will. 3 no's, the 4th time I got it. Some said it can't be done. I did get a glimmer of hope, and that's why I kept going. So yeah, both listings up on Google. We're official. So, all right, boys, let's keep moving forward. So that's a business talk for today. Let's get into some JDM stuff. So again, the FC, the Rusty Bucket. It's my computer's on it right now. I'm staring at it. Right on the butt, and that's going to be here for a while. It'll be a winter project. I probably won't. It won't be done until I don't know, springtime. I would say, but I don't necessarily need to sell this to get another car. Although I don't know where I'd put it. I'd be a little tight on room. I mean, I could definitely fit it in here, but yeah. Anyways, to be relevant, you got to keep up with the market, Like if someone calls me, because, I still get calls for the consulting service. If someone calls me tomorrow and they're like, listen, I'm looking at Lancers, like, what's up? I need to know what's going on or else why pay me, there needs to be a value add of some sort. So I'm always looking, right? I mean, it's kind of like my job just to like scan over a couple times a week, even if I'm not buying a car, which I want to soon. I think once I get things leveled out here and have like get a busy month under my belt, I think I'm gonna go for either a Pulsar GTI R, so SR20 all-wheel drive hatchback, kind of rally inspired, great platform, underutilized, maybe underrecognized. For those of you that don't know them, look it up. It's a Nissan Pulsar. They're not gorgeous. But then ask yourself, does it need to be? It's a hatchback. I mean, it's a block. You make it fast or make it jump over stuff. I mean, whatever. It's a great platform. Easy to get parts for. It's easy to get parts for the chassis for that, for the engine, the drivetrain, everything stateside. So you're good there as long as you don't wreck it. Need body replacements. It's even still, let's be real. Before you buy a car, I always tell people this. If you're going to be driving it a lot, a JDM car, just the first thing to do, if you're at all concerned, search for a new headlight. Search for a fender. Search for a windshield. Like, those are kind of the first things that, like, if you're getting a little fender bender, it doesn't take much for a rock chip to the windshield, which is why I recommend everybody to get a clear film installed on their windshield. Like everyone. There is no reason not to. whatever it costs locally to you, whether it's $150, $200 for the install, it is 100% worth it because, yes, if someone throws a brick at your windshield, it'll break. But if you're driving down the road, someone kicks up a little stone that turns a chip that, can't quite be filled and turns into a crack, or you don't catch it soon enough, it turns into a crack. That's like the one thing it's not hard to source, but you could be waiting for it for a while, maybe not able to drive your car, and it's going to get really expensive to ship it. So I always tell people that, like, if you have any concerns, even if you don't have concerns, even if someone's like, oh man, I can't wait, like I got the money, I'm ready to get my JDM right-hand drive car, let's go looking at them. And I'm like, absolutely. But just make sure you're cool with what comes with that. Not trying to talk people out of things, but again, fans, not customers. To get fans, sometimes you have to talk people out of things because it's that one person that's super hyped that's like, bro, you never told me, like, this would be a pain in the, like, I can't drive my car for 3 months. This is stupid, you ass. Like, and they're the ones that blow you up. So I try to talk people out of it if I feel like they're a little too excited and haven't done their research. So those are the main things. If you're looking for, like, you want a Mazda Cosmo, sick car, awesome. See what it's like to find the replacement parts. I think in a lot of circumstances, you will be pleasantly surprised that, oh shit, I can just get this like on eBay and have it in like a week or 7-10 days at worst, like from New Zealand. Like, it's not a big deal to source stuff. And there's plenty of companies that export. There's not, in the States, I mean, I know there's a lot that like that sell JDM parts, but a lot of it's like aftermarket, right? So if you need like an OEM replacement, whatever, like if you just want an OEM replacement, like manifold or something like that, like sometimes it's not as easy. But if you want aftermarket, this and that, like, yeah, you can get whatever, shipped from California, from New York, whatever major outlet has it, steering wheel, seats, all that. But I'm talking like just the maintenance stuff to keep your car going. But yeah, like with the Pulsar, a lot of these you'll be pleasantly surprised that you could just get a bunch of stuff from local companies, from companies that have fast shipping. There's a lot of cars that cross-reference, so you can get parts, from dealers. But the main thing is usually the body stuff, You get in a wreck or a stone chip on the windshield or, a broken headlight. Make sure you're cool with that. Like, make sure some of these cars, yeah, it's hard to find a headlight. And if you do, it's maybe triple the cost that if you were local in that country. So, make sure you're cool with it. That's all. Just a little word of, but the main takeaway, you have a right-hand drive. If you're driving one now, get the protective film on your windshield. Just do it. Coming up into wintertime, that'll ruin your day. Because I don't care what car you have, they are usually hard to source. But that brings me to why I think I'm excited about looking into, the Pulsar, yes, but also, an Evo. So Lancer Evos, we're looking at like the 2s, the 3s right now. Not my favorite body style, the 4s where they start looking nice, in my opinion. But same power plant, drivetrain, and talking about body replacements, aside from like, front bumpers and things like that and hood, fender, even headlights, getting the JDM ones, very easy to source. Taillights, go to a dealership. It's a Mitsubishi Mirage, chassis components, a lot of stuff you can find pretty quickly. And it's a very popular engine platform, so I think that's why, especially in Pittsburgh here, wintertime, if someone's driving one, you crack a windshield, you can get a replacement, like Safelite could come out and do a replacement. Like, that's awesome. Like, honestly, sometimes we don't consider that when purchasing our, unique car. It might be our second car, it might be our daily driver, but sometimes we just don't think about that. And those are the things that, like, maybe start to like stem a little bit of regret. So I have my database open here. So we're looking at what's available and kind of what's, just to give you an idea of like what's, how many are available right now this time of year. And this is the best time of week to do it because this is usually, so it's Thursday here in the States, which means, the Thursday auction's already come and passed, but they still have all the stuff that was up there posted, which I kind of like to look here. Again, a lot of sold prices are not accurate. You cannot go based on that. Some people don't turn them in. Some people make them up. Sometimes the systems will just create an average. So if you have a car that's sold for 896 yen and then one that someone didn't put any in for 0, now your average for that car is 400 yen, which is not an accurate average. The other one could have sold for more. The average could actually be 900. So whenever there's a lot of different databases out there, guys, take that with a grain of salt. Even talking to people that are, the guy that I have looking for stuff that's been doing this for years, that lives in Japan, he's like, that is wildly inaccurate. Even the database that he uses, it's the only way to get accurate numbers is to have somebody that's there. Like what I do is, even if I'm curious, I'll be like, hey, what did that 180SX go for? Oh yeah, that one went for 786. It was a R grade, kind of medium miles. And I'll just put some notes, and I keep that in my own database because I know that's like real numbers. Because if I go off what's submitted, it's a crapshoot, totally. So like right now, so we're getting into the winter months. 180SXs were really few and far between. 18 listed, and this is like in most major auctions. I don't have all the obscure ones pulled up, but like, we have Osaka, Nagoya, Tokyo, Shiba, Gifu. So, most of the relevant ones pulled up, and there's like 18. I'm looking at 18 right now between 1991 and 98, which is when they made the 180s. So, and then if you do it to 91 to 94, there's still a good amount here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7. So there's 7 legal to be imported right now, which is actually a pretty good spread, And if you're looking at a car and typically every week there's 5 or more, you're in good place. You're in a good place where it won't take you too long to find the right car. You won't go through too many weeks, too many cycles of this. When you're looking for something that you go weeks with nothing that's relevant, that's when the search is a little more like months, as opposed to like, we tried on these 2, the third one we won. Or, we bid on 2 this day, we lost that. 3 on the next day, we got the third after 5, we got it. You can really get some momentum. Because again, it's a game of numbers. You can want something all you want, but it just might not be the day. It might get bid up way too high. They might pull it from the auction. There's just all kind of things. This isn't just a U.S. market. It's worldwide. These things are getting exported all over the world. So they're popular here and also elsewhere. Keep it in mind. So, like for instance, we have in Tokyo, obviously the biggest ones. We have Perfect example here. So RPS 13, 1993. It's a Type 3 modified 4,500 kilometers, verified, and a 3.5, which a 3.5 condition is about as high as you're going to get for an S chassis. They're almost all R's, which means there was, panels replaced, which is fine. I mean, honestly, unless there's structural damage, let's keep in mind these cars are 25 plus years old. They're being realistic that, and sometimes they'll consider aftermarket kits as body panel replacements, or it's been in a little fender bender. My main thing is if it's a stock core support, underside looks good, hasn't been in anything major, whatever. We're good to go. It could have been someone bumping into a parking space or a garage and needed a fender replacement. Hood got resprayed. Sometimes a respray will do it too. And it's just because, they wanted to freshen up the paint job. It got keyed. Who knows? But yeah, so we have one in really nice condition, and it went unsold. So it went unsold, and it was submitted for $0. So we know that someone bid more than $0. And I know for a fact this one was bid up to 983. Or in the 980s of yen, 980,000 yen. So roughly in the low, like 90, let's call it 9,300 USD, somewhere in that range. So, which isn't bad for 180. For them to go over 10 grand, I feel like is for a clean one. You should expect to pay, 10 to 12. For really clean modified ones, I've seen them go for even more. So yeah, the market for 180s actually isn't. I'm surprised this time of year that there's this much to choose from. So if you're looking for a 180, sweet, you're in luck. Scroll on to other Nissans here. I mean, come on, I have to. Like, I love Cedrics. I don't know why. I do know why. They're awesome. Like, let's be real. And again, it's another car that you can get a lot of parts for in the U.S. So you're looking for a Cedric. You are in luck. No, you're not. Sorry. So yeah, for the Y32 body style. So that's the one with the 4 circular headlights in the front. One of the newer versions that's available to bring in. One that I've brought in multiples of. I think it's one of the best looking ones. There's not a ton of those, and that's usually the case. So that's a car that it's like, if you're looking for like kind of VIP type car, there's a ton of older ones like 80s. There are some cool, like if you get into the early 80s, the 430, they're not bad. They're like, I mean, they look like a door wedge, but they got that 80s vibe. I think they're pretty cool. But yeah, and Ceferos. I remember Ceferos used to be a thing like 2 years ago. There was a bunch of them. Not so much anymore. So like right now, for instance, this is the busiest time for the auctions. There's nothing that's legal available, and the only ones showing up are between 98 2002, which are, boring. It's like the equivalent of, what was it, the i35, the Infiniti i35 back in the day, which was like the Infinity's Nissan Maxima. So, and no one's going to want those when they're legal. It's the older ones that I think are interesting. With the RB20s and stuff, and you'll see some drifted out ones. So, yeah. And then there is always a very healthy smattering of fair ladies. And that'll go from the 300Zs, and there's always a lot of classics. I don't want to say always a lot, but if you're looking for a classic, you would think like this could be a 6-month search. Well, if you're looking for a really nicely done, Z, say, early 70s, early mid 70s, you'll find one. You'll find one for sure. They're no cheaper over there, but you'll find one. So, but 300ZXs, they go through ups and downs right now. It is market rich. 300ZX, there's a lot. The only caveat with those, there's a lot of them, but maybe less than 20% are 5 speeds. So most of them are going to be the twin turbo. They didn't sell a lot that weren't over there. Or at least there's not a lot that usually show up at auctions. But so that's good. But a lot are automatics. So keep that in mind. You find a lot of clean ones. If you're looking for one of those, like, it's easy to find a nice clean body, tasteful mods, or stock, or low mileage. There's kind of like everything in between. Probably more stock of those than there are modified compared to like Skylines and things like that. But yeah, definitely harder to find the 5-speed, but it's out there. Like that's one that you could quickly snipe and kind of move on from there. Glorias are another thing that I love. So if you're looking at like Glorias, it's kind of the same as a Cedric. There's a lot of early 70s, 80s, kind of the classic going on antique. Little harder finding the newer ones, but yeah, and I mean the Gloria again. It's like an Infiniti Q45. It's same chassis code as the Cedric. It's the Y32, and very similar aesthetics. And I did research on this once, and I think I talked about it in an early podcast, but I'm not gonna misreference. But essentially, the main difference, I can't remember which one it is, but one is just a little more sporty than the other. One's like a softer ride, more luxurious. I want to say the Cedric's the softer one, but I'm not 100%. But that's the main difference between the Gloria the Cedric, because the Gloria came over with the Bluebird company with the Skyline when they were acquired by Nissan, like back in the day. So that's why they had for a while, for quite some time. Actually, they might still a Gloria and a Cedric, which essentially are the same thing with different badging and just minor differences in marketing, even. So yeah, that's I mean, those are kind of the hot tickets for Nissan. Oh, you know what? And maybe we'll do next episode, because you know what? Now that I'm doing this, I kind of like it, and I think, like, how can I give value back to? I mean, listen, we all tune into this for different reasons, I'm sure. I'm sure some people just like to hear my story. I'm sure some people maybe are looking to start up a business, automotive type stuff, and they're like, maybe they can get something there. Some people just see that it's about cars. They put it on the background and don't give a shit what I say. And then there's some that, you know, this all started, they're like, I just like JDM stuff. I wish you would talk about more JDM stuff. So that's why I like to start things with kind of an outline of the episode, you know? Like, listen, guys, like, do I care about the analytics for this? Like, absolutely. Like, it'd be cool if this little podcast of mine turned into something, or at least was turned into a bigger platform where, you know, maybe I can interview some people that you'd be interested in listening to, that I'd be able to take something from, or, you know, just a nice compliment to the business. But that's not what drives me, you know? So yeah, it might hurt analytics to be like, hey, on the back end of this episode is when I'm going to talk about JDM cars. On the beginning end, we're going to talk about my business. And, you know, people skip to the back. Like, that's why I do it, because I want you to, like, stay around. I want you to be part of this community, and I like to be engaging. So yeah, it might hurt my analytics because people are skipping through, but at the end of the day, you'll come back. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Plus, you know, how many people am I competing against in this exact category, you know? Like this specific category. Like, not many. So, you know, I appreciate you. I appreciate the DMs, the emails. Keep them coming. But, you know, I'm always going to continue with this format. I think it's the most conducive to keeping you happy. And honestly, myself, too. It keeps me organized, or else I'd just blab about nonsense for an hour. But yeah, let's go over Honda. Like, I'm pulling up Honda now. I'll hit on some of the hot Honda cars. And then maybe next week or the week after, when I do the next episode, we'll hit a couple other manufacturers. And I'll just kind of real time. Like, this is what the market's doing right now. You know, this is the availability, roughly what the cars are cost, and stuff like that. So, as I burp up my lunch. So, let's, come on now, bro. Let's start with Civics. So, initially, 67 Civics at the auction. And that doesn't mean anything, because that's 67 between, let's see, so there's a range of 91 to 2019. So, but we know there's going to be a lot of Civics. What we're interested is the Type Rs, old ones, SIRs, you know? Just for comparison's sake, the average price, and this is this I know to be accurate, just because I know the two cars that went through, both prices were reported, and there was only two, so nothing was thrown off by a weird zero or anything. So 2019, here's what a 2019 Type R goes for in Japan today. Sold for 39,000 yen. So 39,000 yen. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. It's 39 million. 000,000. I think that's right. That converts to... Nope. One too many zeros. Hold on. Okay, yeah, so 39 million yen is what one sold for today, actually. So USD, that's $43,000. So maybe that answers your question of, like, new car pricing in Japan. Not much different than here. You know, I know they're still being marked up in dealerships. You you're still going to be cracking 40 here. But this is for a used one. This one, I mean, barely 3,000 kilometers, but still. So anyway, I mean, again, we're not going to be importing stuff like that, but I think it's kind of cool to hear about the differences for the new cars, the stuff that we have here. So if I do a search 91 to 94, even if, it'll be available soon, 95, well, that didn't pull up anything new. So 91 to 95, EG6 body style, there's a EF9, so SIR2, most of which what I'm finding that are legal, SIRs, which is what we would want to get, right? So yeah, if you're looking for one of those, wouldn't be a bad time, because I've gone weeks without seeing any, and there's 3, so that's something. And of the 3, so they're all Rs. Almost all the Civics are going to be Rs because they're usually heavily modified. And let's be real, they have higher mileage, so chances are that they've had a fender bender are going to be very high. And again, fender bender can mean a lot of things, like a huge scuff in the front bumper that needed repaired, keying that needed repainted, or it could be like a full-on frontal collision into a Jersey barrier. So it can mean a lot of things, but if you have someone there with eyes on them, you can tell the story quickly. If you see like, oh, it looks like no one's touched the bolts, original bolts around the fenders, the hood, rad supports, all original. You can always tell when that's replaced. There's no way to hide it. Firewall, stuff like that. You look in the back, in the trunk especially. Okay, no crumple zones, kinks. Then, okay, it's like a total facade. It could just be, a bumper replacement. It could just be a respray. Which, I mean, let's be real. What 27-year-old Civic doesn't need a paint job? And if someone's going to paint it, like maybe they'll replace, the door that had like 50 door dings in it, or the fender that, someone, scuffed up pulling into a parking block. So, yeah, and these, it looks like, yeah, these are going for like 500, 6, mid 600 for like, okay versions. Something I would drive, but by no means a showpiece. So, like $5-6 grand, somewhere in there. So yeah, SIRs, I think, I don't think they're a bad buy. And they've been there was one period of time they spiked, but for the most part, they've been in that range, forever. The only time I've seen something get expensive is if it's like a stock, like every once in a while I see a stock with like, old school work wheels, very tasteful, like old time Japanese modifications, and like under 70,000 kilometers, which is insane for a Civic. And sometimes you see those like go blast through $10,000. But for the most part, I'd say the 5 to 7 range is kind of safe to find one there. So, and what else do we care about? Oh, you guys want to know what an NSX costs? 90 to 93. This is always shocking to me, how many there are available. Always. There was a period last year where there was a lull, but for the most part, right now, there is 23 that are legal to import. 23! Way more than a Civic. I mean, isn't that nuts? But yeah, I mean, these you're looking at roughly the same cost as USDM versions. So, they'll be in the like high 30, low 40s. For 91, 92, somewhere in that range. Some you'll get like, if you get a really good deal, it'll be in the low 30s, I'd say, for a clean example with like lower mileage. Now you can get some in the 20s, obviously, that's, are heavily modified, 34,000 kilometers, but there's a lot here that are like in the 40,000 kilometer, 64,000 kilometer range that are going in the low 40s that are very clean. And there's like, and a 5-speed too. Again, same as a 300Z. Not as much. I'd say probably, based on this list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9, yeah. So you're looking 10. 10 out of 23 are manuals. So a little less, like, 40, we'll say 40%. 45% are manuals. So a lot more automatics than you think, but same in the States, if you've looked around. But I think the advantage to getting one is it's easier to find a lower mileage version. For some reason, there's just a lot of 100,000 mile plus NSXs in the States that you will still spend in the 30s for. Easy, and anything under 100, it's so hard to get for under 40. I'll save you the typing. I know there's exceptions. Everybody has seen an exception, but I'm just generalizing the rule. That's usually where they fall in, and you'll just get some lower mileage. And the other thing too, and this is what I would tell someone if they were looking for a high-end import car, which I'd consider an NSX and a Supra to be of that. Supra not so much. NSX maintenance is very important to the longevity and the cost of ownership. So even though it might be a wash, because by the time you ship it here, pay duty, even if you save some money buying it in Japan, it's going to be about a wash once it's at your door, legal and ready to drive on the road. The benefits are, you can get some models that we didn't have, some packages, Type R, things like that we didn't have. So that's cool. The right-hand drive factor is always just going to be cool in itself. And I think the biggest thing, which is why I think it'd even be worth spending a little more for a right-hand drive version, is typically cars are taken care of more and tracked more with maintenance there, just because especially the older they get, you have to prove that it's up to maintenance for inspection and everything. So I see value in that, especially, and you'll be able to know, if I'm looking at a NSX for you or something like that, we'll be able to know if there's full service history in the glove box, and you can flip through and it's oh, hey, there's 40 pages of service history. We're good to go. This is one, and there's stickers all over the door jamb that shows timing belt change, diff fluid was changed, all of the stuff that really could be detrimental to that car's health and make it wildly expensive. And if you have some of that knowledge, then like I said, I see regularly meticulous documentation on very average cars that aren't special. They're just cars to people. So I think that'd be the benefit of buying something higher end and importing it, even if you're not saving money. But tons of them. And then, of course, there's so some of the other things people have actually asked me for, like Preludes. Preludes are kind of hard to come by. So if you're looking for something like that, they're around Civic price, a little bit more. They might be in the 600 to 800 yen, 1,000 yen range. So, 7-8 grand for an SI. But, you can find some cleaner versions. And that's for the really clean ones. Obviously, you can get some for $3 grand that are beat. You can always find a Civic or a Prelude for super cheap, always. But I'm just saying, kind of the turnkey, you don't have to respray it type of cars. But there's not many of them. So right now, the only one that was shown is in Nagoya. It's a 91. It's yellow. You know what? It's a factory yellow. I was not aware that was a factory color, but it doesn't say it was a respray, and it's coming up with the with the VIN number. It's yellow. Huh. It's like a pearl. It's actually kind of gorgeous. So yeah, this is a super clean one, and it went unsold. It did get bid up to 790,000 yen. So and they didn't sell it, which I wouldn't have either. It's a 1,900 kilometers. That thing is like a collector. Honestly, I think that should be worth over 10. Easy. Even though it's a Prelude and we've had it here. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I mean, those, obviously there's a lot more. There's a lot of obscurity hidden amongst the Nissan and Honda brand that we just went through. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little real time, and that's what's going on in the market right now, at least for those brands and some things that I'm thinking about. Like I said, I think I'm still going to focus on kind of a rally car for the next gig. But yeah, hopefully that was hopefully you liked that. And if you didn't, whatever. don't listen, but no, it's I really I know I say this every time. I don't care if I'm redundant. I really enjoy this. I enjoy the community. Guys, thanks for listening. Honestly, I know it's only been 20 episodes, but it feels like a lot because, again, I've been doing a lot of stuff alongside this, and it has been therapeutic to track the progress, the maturation of my businesses and me. I mean, let's remember, when I started this, what was it, like a year and a half ago? I was managing a recruiting firm, like full time, and this was like my hobby that I hope to turn into something. It doesn't feel like that long ago. My life was drastically different. I was in an office with a desk and a window, talking to doctors, trying to recruit them into different like pharma and life science companies, and I'm sitting behind my rusty FC in my own garage space in a different state a year and a half later. And it feels good. And it's scary, and it's a welcome burden. Always a welcome burden. It's the hardest thing. I would do it over 1 million times. I'm making way less money now. I'm spending more. I'm working more. And I don't think I've ever been happier. Take that for what it's worth. If you're thinking about something, thinking about making a change, making a move, just try it. We're resilient. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to what you were doing. Like I always tell myself this, like I'm not that special. Like if this for some reason, and it's not even a thought in my head that it wouldn't work, but circumstances happen, things happen. If it didn't, I'm not special. Like I was the only one that could do my job at that given time. I could be a recruiter. Yeah, I might have to start back some steps and work up, but you know what I mean? Like it's not worth that fear from holding me back. Like it just wasn't worth it to me, and I'm so glad I did it. And this podcast has been a huge help. So thank you for listening, and most importantly, thanks for contributing, for the emails, for the even just for the quick replies of motivation and kind of a pat on the back. I mean, I sit here and thump my chest that, I did this all on my own, but honestly, those little words of encouragement, they help even me. I mean, honestly, they do. So if you can connect with anything I said today, share that with me. Let me know if there's anything that you're like, hey, can you expand upon this a little bit? Absolutely. I try to make time for everybody. As always, call me out if I don't. But yeah, episode 20 in the books, and we're gonna get the next one out here in a week or two. And I think I'm gonna do. Obviously, we're gonna have updates, but we're gonna go over the market in a little more detail, and I also want to do a little research on a brand that I'm sure most of you know and love. A little history on that brand, and yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this episode, kind of the live browsing of the market, and what you'd be interested in learning about next, because I'd be glad to do it. When you learn, I learn, right? If you're like, hey, we want to hear more about this manufacturer, this brand, or whatever it may be, or this in business, it allows me to kind of internalize and think and dig deeper than just I normally would, going through the routines of the day. So, as always, Elusive Auto Company on social media, Dante at Elusive Auto Co., ELUSIVE AutoCO.com. Questions, concerns, comments, hate, send it my way. As always, appreciate you. Enjoy the drive. Peace.